causes acceleration, and so this acceleration is called acceleration due to gravity with a magnitude of 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay, but okay, for objects like there is an engine. So what are these objects that are in free fall? Of course, anything that is freely falling, like anything. And the object that has engine and air, of course, they are not freely falling because the engine is giving them force. What about paragliding, parachute? Well, there is the air resistance as a big factor. So, yeah, it is still considered free fall, but then you are going to consider now the air resistance, so that's another force. So, it's not only the force of gravity that is acting on it. Okay, so this time, in these cases, we are going to consider air resistance as negligible or nearly zero. Okay, so what are those instances or scenarios that you can find? Pardon my handwriting. So first, when an object is dropped. Ito yung nahulog. Hulog, log, log. O yung tipong nakita mo siya, nahulog ka na. Ganon. Anyway, so here, the initial speed here is zero. Walang nagtulak sa'yo. Hindi hinagis. It just dropped. Okay, for example, it is lying on or standing on something, and then what it stands on suddenly broke. Diba? Bumigay. Ganon. And then, so then, it falls. Okay, and when we say fall, it is downward. I just don't know with you if your direction is towards her or him. Yeah. And number two, the second scenario, when it goes upward. And of course, it's very unnatural for an object to go upward, so there must something that has caused it to go upward, that it gives it an initial speed, therefore it's no longer zero. So syempre, it goes up. But everything that goes up must come down. So bababa rin yan. Okay. And sa pagbaba, pwede ka rin tinulak lang. Okay, an object that is thrown downward. What are the examples? Wala, may nagis ka lang pababa. Tinitira ka sa baba. Panain mo pababa. Or, ano ito? Slingshot. Ganun. So, anything that you throw it down, you're going to hit something. Parang pag naglalaro ka ng pogs, yung pog ba? Yung titry mo pababa. So, hagis mo siya pababa. Ganun, yung mga bata. Okay, and so the direction here is downward. Is there an initial speed? Yes, initial velocity, it's not equal to zero because you gave it an initial speed, but it's downward. What gives it an initial speed? So if you are going to throw it, then it's your hand. The movement of your hand as it goes downward. You give it a force or anything. If it's a slingshot, then it's the flexibility of the rubber, whatever, the gun, gives it an initial speed. Okay, under free fall actually, because it is being acted by a gravity, if that is our definition, there is still additional cases. Anything that is thrown, so may upward, may downward, ganun din, sideward, or that is thrown horizontally, and And then there's this fifth scenario, which is more realistic. Like it happens most of the time when it is thrown. I use the word thrown, but it can be kicked, okay, at an angle. How is that? So this time, if it is kicked or thrown again, there is an initial speed, so this must not be zero. So if it is at an angle, that is at an angle, so there is horizontal, upward, and eventually it will soon go down, so there is also downward. Does it look complicated? Yes. Don't worry, we're not going to tackle about this one now. Maybe in the next videos, because this one involves a two-dimensional motion. Here we are going to talk about 1D two-dimensional motions. Example is projectile. Okay, and we're not going to tackle that, so let's scrap it because that will sound more complicated. But since it is still, strictly speaking, technically speaking, under free fall, so it is related. There's just addition of that, angle and horizontal motion. Okay, so let's move on. So for an object that is dropped, so number one, dropped. So you dropped something. So for example, that is an object, a ball, typical example. Then of course it will go down, 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 until it reaches the ground. Yeah, my daughter says like a meteorite. Yes, when it falls to the earth, that is an example of a free fall as well. But it's not something that is dropped because it has initial speed as it enters the earth atmosphere. Okay, so here we have initial speed equal to 0, and then there there is a total time of travel, delta t, but let's just denote it as t, and there is this distance that is traveled by this object. Let's denote that by y because it is along the vertical line, or it's a vertical motion. So using the Cartesian plane, we will denote that as y, and yeah, it will be useful when we go to 2D. All right, so how are we going to describe the motion of an object that is dropped? So we will describe it in terms of its speed and the distance it travels. So for example, when it's going down after 1 second, what happens to its speed? Starting from 0, we can get its speed. Again, it accelerates at 9.8 meters per second squared. Therefore, it means that after 1 second, from the definition of acceleration, it increases its speed at a constant rate. So v naught, v sub 0 is 0 at v1. From 0, magiging 9.8 meters per second. Yeah, because that is actually 9.8 meters per second every second. Yun. Ang change, ang pagbabago ng speed sa bawat oras, bawat segundo. And v sub 2, after 2 seconds, so this is t at 1 second. After 2 seconds, it will also increase by another 9.8. So 9.8 plus 9.8, 19.6 meters per second. So, dumudoble. Yes, kasi nga, constant rate at 9.8. So, bawat segundo, another second, at the third second, it is now 19.6 plus another 9.8, and that is 8 plus 6, that's a 14, 19, 29.4 meters per second. Naglag. There. Alright. So that is how the speed increases. That is what we mean by increasing speed at a constant rate. Ang difference nito, 9.8, 9.8. And is that the same for any object? Yes, as long as it is freely falling. Mabigat o magaan. At negligible air resistance in a vacuum, yes. Feather or rock, same rate, same speed every second. Okay? So, yun ang delta V niya. Because ang delta T mo dito ay 1 second, 1 second. Okay? So, parehas siya dito. Kaya siya squared kasi nga nasa baba. Squared. Okay? So, what about for distance? Now, distance is different. Okay, let's erase. Different. Yep. Let's remove that part to give room. Lalaki kasi nasulat ni Madam. Madam again. Ni Ma'am, ni Teacher. Okay. So here at T equal 1 second, T at 2 seconds, and T at 3 seconds. Now let's look at the distance. For the distance traveled, okay, paano kinukuha yung distance? Oh, I hope we can do this experimentally. But of course, it's different. Okay, we are going to use the second formula. Okay. What was our second formula? We have initial distance plus initial speed. This time it's y plus 1/2 at squared y. So, pinago ko naging y. And then that will become, this is 0, this is 0, 1/2 ay, or that is g t squared. It should be negative. Yes, it is, because the direction of y is downward, galing sa taas, pababa. So, it will become negative. So, that is then that displacement. V is also downward. So, this should also be negative when we say negative. But this time, we only took the magnitude. Acceleration is also negative. Everything is negative, so it will still result to, yeah, positive, negative. So, at 1 second, so this is our formula. So, at t equal 1 second, let's have y1. Where is our object? So, let's have 1/2 times 9.8 meters per second squared times t is 1 second squared. So, that's 9.8 divided by 2. That is 4.9 meters. Meters, yes, because we cancel that out. Okay. Pag may cancel 2020 o cancel kung ano man kina-cancel, here we cancel also the units that can be canceled. Alright? So that is y1. So what does it mean when we go back here? For example, at t equals 1 second, nandito po siya. And this is like, ang liit kasi ng illustration, 4.9, but the speed, magnify natin, this is the initial position, y equals 0, at t equals 0, v equals 0, 0 lahat. At t is equal to 1 second, pagtapos ng isang segundo, that's why time is here dependent kasi umaandar yung oras. Hindi mo kinokontrol. Why is my y like that? Okay. Y y sub 1 now equals 4.9 meters. Nasaan na yung bola? Nandito na. Did I say it was a ball? Yep. So it's here. What is the speed? Mabilis na. V1 is 9.8 meters per second. Take note of that. Why is my t like that? T equals 1 second. Now, at t equal to 2 seconds, what is our y? Y is 1/2 times 9.8 meters per second squared times 2 seconds squared. So for faster computation, let's have 2 squared equals 4 times 9.8, that's 39.2, and times 1/2 or divided by 2, 19.6. So now here it's 19.6 meters. So what happened? Yung 4.9 naging, hindi siya nagdagdag ng another 4.9. No, it suddenly becomes 9.6. Ang laki naman ng dinagdag. Yes, because take note, you have squared. Habang mandar yung oras, hindi lang siya nadodoble, squared. Whereas V2 is eto 19.6, nagdodoble pero yung distance hindi. Because when you remember in your graph, distance or displacement versus time, it's parabolic. Yung speed mo, pag ganun. Yung acceleration mo, ganun. Straight. Why? Kasi yung acceleration mo, pare-parehas. Ulitin natin yon. Bakit ganon? Distance, time. About 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. 9.8 ito. After another second, 9.8 pa rin. 3 seconds, 9.8 pa rin sa acceleration. Hindi nagbabago. Pero yung speed mo, constant rate. Bakit? For example, if this is V, yan. Kung 0, tapos 9.8 yan, tapos ito 19.6, doble. So 1 second dito siya, 2 seconds nandito, 3 seconds nandun. So straight line siya. Ay yung distance. Distance, ganito siya. Distance, time, sabihin na natin 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So una, nandito siya 4.9, sabihin na natin nasa 5. Sunod 19.6, dito na siya, malapit sa 20. Okay. And then ano yung third? T is equal to 3. What is our y? y3. Okay, that's 1/2, 9.8. Ito lang magbabago, magiging 3. Let's check. So, yung 3 squared, yun yung time, that's 9, times 9.8, okay, 8.2, times 1/2 or divided by 2. 44.1. Look at that, 44.1 meters. Nasaan yun? 25, 30, 35, 40, 41. Oops, nandun na sa pinakataas. Saan linya nito? So, is straight line mo ba yan? No. That's parabolic. Because remember, when y is proportional to x squared, it's parabola. In a parabolic graph, y is proportional to x squared. Recall lang. So that is a concept of a free fall, a constant acceleration. As the object is going down towards the earth, it is increasing in its speed. Okay, so anong distance to? 44 meters. And the speed is 29.4. This is merely 3 seconds, tatlong segundo. How high is 44 meters? If, for example, sabihin na natin, one floor in a building is 5 meters, 44 divided by 5 is almost 9. So, that is almost ninth floor. So, pag tumalon ka from the building, ninth floor, your speed after 3 seconds, and yung speed mo na yon na after 3 seconds, pag nandito ang bola, this is the speed here just before it touches the ground, bago dumikit, is here 9.6 meters. Oh no, sorry, not that one. Hindi pala ikaw. Kala mo siya na pero hindi pa pala. Okay. There, 29.4 meters per second just before you hit the ground. And how fast is that? Sa isang segundo, 29.4. If you cannot imagine, mas gusto nyo in kph? Okay, then let's have that. There are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. But there is 1,000 meters. So, i-convert natin yon. Paano mag-convert? Recall natin. Sige, yung 29.4, dito na lang, sorry. Meters over second times, may, hindi lahat, nakita ko na ganito. 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. And then, 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. So, cancel the units that can be canceled para kph na lang. So, that's 3,600 minus 1,000. Divided by 1,000. So, kung yan, may tatlong zeros. Cancel. So, that's 3.6 times 29.4. 29.4 times 3.6. 105 kph. If you drive a motorcycle, umabot ka na ng 100 kilometers per hour. How fast is that? Tapos bigla kang babangga. Fatal. If you're driving a car, pag sa mga jeep kasi, sira mga speedometer nila eh. Buti pa yung bus. Kaya nyo kita sa jeep. Sa tricycle, sa motor, yes, it is working. So if you are, paano mo namin walang sasakyan, di ba? You check. Sa tricycle, yes, working. Yung sa mga motor, yung iba hindi. Ewan ko ba't nila sinisira. Yung sa jeep, sira. Speedometer nila, odometer. Of course, sa car gumagana. But 105, I'm telling you, that's fast. If you're driving that fast, tapos bigla kang papangga, without an airbag, fatal. So, for example, just before it hits the ground, it's moving at 100 kph. If the ground is concrete, kaya nga 3 seconds tumalon ka o basta nagpahulog ka. Whoa, what was that? So, kaano yun? Kasakit. Fatal. If it is on water, yes, there's a chance of survival. Sand is still possible, but depends on how deep you will go. Okay? So that depends. So there, that is fatal. So do not attempt. Okay. So there. So this is the concept for an object that is dropped. Now, what about those going upward? Okay, but before we go on to scenario number 3, an object thrown upward, let me just go to number 3 kasi parehas naman silang downward. The only difference is that the speed is not equal to 0. So, paano yun? Hinagis mo. So, for example, you gave it an initial velocity. When you drop it, like here, when you drop it, hinagis mo siya. Lalaro ka ng pogs, diba? Para malakas. Throw it downward. Okay. So, there's an initial speed. So, for example, the initial speed is, let's make it simple, 10 meters per second. So, at V1 now, We just add that. It's no longer just 9.8 meters per second, it becomes 19.8 meters per second. Ganun lang siya. Since it has greater speed, greater distance. That's it. For scenario number 3. Now, what about for number 2? Sa upward. So if it is upward, so there this time there are now two motions, upward and downward, but still 1D. So what's the difference? So let's draw it. So for example, we have here the ground, and we have here a person, yeah, yan, who is trying to play and who wants to throw the ball. Let's give it a different color. Maybe blue. There, blue. Lakihan natin. Upward. So, pataas. Okay. Of course, for you to be able to throw it upwards, pero ka dapat initial speed. Diba? But then as it goes up, bumabagal, bumibilis. Of course, bumibilis. Bumabagal. Pagdating sa taas, yan. Here. Itong laging tatandaan, at the maximum height. Maximum height, kasi hanggang dun na lang siya. Huwag kang mag-alala, bata pa kayo, tatangkad ka pa. For the boys, yes, you're going to grow taller. If you're 16, I think until you're 18. For the girls, sorry, maybe stretching will help. Okay? Yeah, sorry about that. So here, that's why we have there Y max. Kasi, for that object, it will not go higher. Ang liit ng drawing ko. Okay, so here, the velocity here, and then you can call it V max or Vmin, minimum. I remember in the textbooks, I think in junior high school, they call minimum, call that one. So V here is always equal to 0. Why? That's the point wherein it stops, and then it will come down. Tinapon mo, babalik sa'yo. So there, Vy here is 0. I specify it to Vy, yes, because when we go to 2D, Vx might not be 0, only Vy. And then, when it comes back down, yung pagbalik, babahin natin ng kulay. O, diba? Wala ng kulay. Wow, what happened? Here. Let me erase that. There. Kaganda nito. There. Ba't kayo tinabi? Yes. Ma'am, pag bumababa, lumalaki. No. Pero yung perspective, di ba? Pag tumataas, lumalayo, lumiliit. Ganun. Pag bumabalik, malaki. Sorry naman sa drawing. So here, when it comes back, catch mo siya, nasalo mo, kung bumalik siya, binalikan ka. Anyway, okay. So it goes down. So ano lang ang nag-iba? In downward motion with compared to the upward motion. Okay. There are two things, maraming parehas. Isa lang pinagkaiba. Direction. Okay, because since acceleration g is going downwards, so when the object is moving downwards, v is, what was that? V is decreasing. So here v decreases, but when it goes downwards, here v is increasing. V. Okay. So there. What are the values or things that are the same in this scenario? Okay, one thing. the time it takes to go up is equal to the time it takes to go down. When it goes up, velocity is decreasing. Don't confuse with the arrow. Increasing magnitude, but it is going down. It is going up but decreasing in value. The displacement as it goes up is positive. Why? Kasi we are on the positive y. When it goes down, it's going down, negative y. Still, the convention will hold through. Hold true. Going up, positive, going down, negative. Okay. So here, the distance traveled as it goes up is decreasing. Lumiliit siya. Depends on the speed. So as you can see in this scenario, the distance travel is increasing. So lang siya. Time to go up is equal to the time and going down from the same point, of course. Pero kalimbawa, kung dito siya galing, sa kamay ng naghagis, when it goes back to that same point, then same time. However, take note, merong distance dito. That can be y sub 0. Halimbawa, sa pagbalik, binalikan ka, hindi mo na sinalo, di ba? Di bagsak siya. Okay. It goes direct to the ground. Bagsak niya. Sa ground. Then, this time is different. Okay. So, there. So, that will be another time also. Okay. Only this one on same points. Okay? Same distance. Going up and down from here to here. Pag may iba, hindi. Yeah, that holds you true. Also for horizontal. No, not horizontal motion. I mean, in objects thrown like horizontally or at an angle. Timing going up is the same as going down. Syempre, at the same thing. Pag ganyan. Oh! That ain't straight. Yeah. And my eraser is so small now. There. And I promised, sabi ko pala later on, going up and going down. Yeah. Time up, time down. But again, that will be later. So there, that will be later. So those are the things that are different. And of course, at the same here, at same positions, same time interval. If this would take t equals 3 seconds, so that is time of flight going down is 3 seconds. Ito na, pagbalik, ito na yung another 1 second din yan, 1 second, another 1 second yung time interval. What I mean, so time up, time down. So meron ka ng parehas na time sa computation, assess mo na siya with what is given. So yung distance na ito pataas, and ito, pinaka-crucial, always remember, speed at the top is 0. That velocity is 0. It's not moving, it's stopped. So, there. Those are the basic concepts. So, parehas pa rin yung pag-akyat, diba? The same. So, always remember. Let's go back to white. Okay. Time up is equal to time down, which refers to going down when y in going up is the same as y in going down. There. Alright. Or at. Okay, and then v, that's u. V at the top of the flight is always 0. Okay, so ito yon, yung oras ng na ginugol niya paakyat, yun din yung oras na gugugulin niya sa pagbaba. Yan ang free fall. Basta pagbaba, doon din kung saan siya nanggaling. Kung lalagpas siya doon, ibang usapan na yon. Okay? So that is for free fall concepts expressed in mathematical equations. By the way, so what will be our equations? Again, let me erase that. What will be our equation? Well, considering that free fall is an example of uniformly accelerated motion, then the equations will hold true. In the material, I put there those 4 equations, but then most of the time we will be using only the first 3. So what are those 3 equations? Ano lang ang binago? Okay, take note. Ito, for our convenience ba yan? Okay, I forgot that term. This will be our this will be the symbols that we are going to use for freely falling bodies. For equation number 1, we had v equals vox plus axt. This time that will just become vy because we are now on the vertical motion. Then we have voy plus ayt. And what is our ay? Take note, our ay here is negative g, because when we say g here, we only refer to the magnitude. So that is still the equation. Para hindi kayo malito, parehas lang. However, in some books, kasi in some cases they change the sign. But then yeah, if you are used to it, you can change it. It becomes this one, boy plus our ay kasi is negative g. Why? Because yeah, it's downward, so it becomes that way. So vy is equal to v naught y minus gt. Ganyan din siya, pero pwede nang dito lang. So it's up to you kung alin dyan yung mas convenient ka o ano yung mas madali mong matandaan. If you're used to this one, memorizing this one, negative gt, o hindi ka malito, isa lang yung set, basta ito ang condition, pababa siya, kaya negative. That is why for me, such that I can memorize fewer formulas or equations, I have to know the concept. And meron tayong convention. Yun, that is the term, convention. If it is downward, negative, upward, positive, right, positive, left, negative, always. Okay. And equation 2 will become y is equal to, sorry if you hear static sound because I can't help it. My laptop will become dead bad if I eliminate that static sound. It's the charging that causes the static sound. Okay, so here y equals y naught v naught t plus ayt, and that squared, and that becomes y. So here it's important for the y naught kasi nga ganito, kapag may distance from the ground, yes, it is considered. That's why I'm not removing it. V naught t, we can just make it 0, depends on the scenario or the situation, plus negative g t squared, and that becomes becomes what you are used to. Yung y before, hindi naman nilalagay ito sa iba because you just add it. Diba? Depends on the situation. Minus gt squared. And what about for the third equation? I'll just place it here. It's vy squared equal to v naught y squared plus 2ay y minus y naught. Why not? There. And if you are going to change vy, so when you are solving and your beginning equation is already in the form of g, that's fine with me. For example, you just changed a to g and then did not change the sign. It's okay as long as when you put in the value for 9.8, you put in there negative. So if that is your style, what you're used to, then it's just okay. Because there the point is, yeah, going down is negative. So this will become y squared minus 2g y, and why not? So there. So this becomes number 3. So it's up to you. This is number 2. Those are all acceptable. So that is just how it is derived. Pero yun nga, if you're having time, hindi ka malito negative na positive mo pala kalito. Kaya for me, I prefer this part. I memorize only this and this. Okay? The concept is more important than the equation or than the formula. Memorizing it. Because there are times that, yeah, formula is open. But if you don't know what those formula means, or those equations means, and those symbols means, or how you are going to assign them, or how to identify them in the problem, that is really a problem. Okay, so what I want you to have here, aside from the solving problem skills, which is in our milk, where it is required, is the concept. So ganun lang siya. Okay, so again, pag free fall, pag pababa, bumibilis, pag paakyat yan, bumabagal, because acceleration is downward. Why is acceleration downward? Because the earth is pulling everything towards itself, towards the ground. Hanggang ground ba? Hindi towards the center. Yes, towards the center, but the ground is giving normal force. Kaya niyang pantayan yung force of gravity ng ground. Okay? And for uniformly accelerated motion, yep, constant acceleration. That's why your graph should be, yeah, not diagonal, not curved. For acceleration versus time. Okay, so acceleration constant to acceleration, so the speed either be increasing constantly or decreasing constantly. Okay.